You've already done your initial training and you're a qualified teacher. So why do people go on about continuing professional development? Why is it helpful? And if it is, then what should you be doing? In this talk, as a teacher for over 30 years who is still developing, I'll tell you a bit about my own experiences and give you a few helpful hints about how you might continue your teacher development journey. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person today, but I hope that you enjoy this recorded talk. I started teaching English in 1989 in Taiwan, and I was lucky enough to get a job in a very supportive school, just because I was a native speaker, to be honest. At that time, I had a degree in agriculture, of all things, which I didn't see is particularly relevant for teaching, but they gave me the job and I needed the money, so I did it. After 6 months of this, teaching in the classroom, I thought I'd got a bit of a handle on what I was doing with the learners, and I was arrogant enough, I'm ashamed to say, when I went to do a certificate course later on, to think that I wouldn't learn very much on it. Now, for me, this is actually quite an interesting starting point. You don't know what you don't know. And so it's not until you keep developing and learning more that you realise how much there is to know and how little you do know. So if I fast forward 35 years to this point in my life, having done many qualifications including CELTA, an MA, a PhD, and having taught on many other teaching qualifications myself, including CELTA and MA TESOL, and having written a course book and having set up a successful online business, after all of this, I realise how little any of us know about how people learn languages and how teachers learn to teach. So that's the first point I want to make. Development is always a good thing. Further training is always a good thing. Sometimes you'll do this because you want to get the job that you want, but sometimes you'll just do it because it's interesting, or because you're curious, or because you've never done that before. My personal experience is that learning more is never a waste of time, and it can lead you in really unexpected directions, often to places or situations that you wouldn't have imagined, but which are really great. It's certainly happened for me. When I say development, this could, of course, be formal courses like CELTA or an MA TESOL or Delta, but I'm really talking about a much wider remit than that. So these days, it's so easy to get access to so much online that's either free or very affordable, and not only to get access to the information, but also to interact with other teachers who will inspire you and motivate you to be the best teacher that you can be. So in this talk, I'm going to look at a wide range of these things, ways in which you can develop, starting with CELTA and other formal courses, and then moving on to other different resources that you can use to help you develop online. Are you ready? Let's go. before I start, I know I'm recorded and I can't interact with you, but could you write in the chat what you would like to do to develop on your next stage as a teacher? Go on, just stop me now for a minute and do it. I hope that you did do that. Let's move along and start with formal qualifications and with CELTA. Now, I've been a CELTA trainer for over 20 years. I'm an assessor. I've visited over 70 different centres, and I'm also one of a dozen Joint Chief Assessors, or JCAs, who support centres for Cambridge. So I don't think I'm, being too big-headed if I say that I know quite a bit about the course. Now, CELTA's often seen as quite a strong benchmark of good teaching, and about 70% of job adverts for English teachers ask for it, apparently, although that research was done by Cambridge, so you want to take it with a pinch of salt. It was originally designed as an initial teacher training qualification for people who've got no previous experience, but these days around 50% of people who take CELTA already do have teaching experience, and many of them have teaching qualifications from their own countries. So why would they want the expense and stress of going through this course? Well, I guess the first reason is probably because they want to get a job internationally or in a private language school in their own country, and they're being asked for it. I think CELTA definitely opens doors for people. It's a very standard product, so I think that's why employers trust it. They know that you don't just get the theory, but you also know how that can be applied in the classroom, and you've practiced it. I've been a CELTA tutor for 24 years, and I've got a great deal of respect for it as a qualification, actually. I see teachers, even if they have a lot of previous experience, learning a lot from that process. And I think that the environment in which you're doing something that's challenging, in this case teaching in front of a class and in front of your peers being watched, and also watching them and reflecting on this and talking about the process, it's a very powerful way to learn. So if you're thinking about CELTA, I know probably some of you are, and you're not sure whether it would be worthwhile or not, I would definitely say it is a good move. So again, out of interest, I know I can't respond, but can you put in the chat if you are thinking about CELTA? Thanks. So what about if you've already got CELTA and you're thinking maybe about something a bit further on? Maybe Delta or an MA TESOL? So what's the difference between them? That's quite a big question, and I can't really answer it all here because we'd be here for too long, but I've made another video about it, and you can access it on YouTube or the links below if you're interested in that. In terms of the formal qualifications that you take, the best way to choose them, I think, is to think about the kind of job you want in the future and see what qualifications are required for it. So this will give you a good steer, I think. For example, if you want to work in a university, then an MA TESOL is definitely a good idea. But if you want to work as a director of studies in a private language institution, or maybe you want to work as a CELTA trainer, like me, then you're going to have to do Delta because that's required usually for those things. But moving on, maybe you're not ready for a formal qualification yet, but you know that development's still a good thing. So what can you do then? Look, the internet is a really big place, and finding material, good material, can be a bit like looking for that needle in the proverbial haystack. So you need to find a way to search through the huge amount of material that's out there. A good way to do this, to filter things, is to find educators that you trust and like, and look for what they're recommending. So the British Council site, for example, is huge, and it's got so many useful resources in it, practical and more theoretical. And if you follow them on Facebook or Instagram, then you'll find they also recommend lots of other useful resources. You can definitely trust what they say. If you want some ideas for development that pop into your inbox every week by email, then signing up for newsletters can be a good thing. I put one out every Sunday, and it's always got links to material that I make, but also to other useful things on the net. If you go to my site, you'll get a pop-up and you can sign up for it. It's completely free. As well as newsletters that are sent out to your inbox, there are also lots of people who write useful educational blogs. You can usually subscribe to these so that you get some kind of push notification when a new post goes up, so you're not looking back for them all the time. And there are many that I would really recommend. Try Nick Peachy if you like EdTech stuff, or Lexical Leo Sullivan if vocabulary is a special interest. There's also one blog that I must mention, although it's now just in an archive state. It's not, new material's not being put up there. But that's Scott Thornberry's A to Z of ELT. It's a brilliant piece of work. There's a lot of scholarship there, a lot of interesting research and links to research, but it's also very accessible. He writes very accessibly. It's easy to understand. If you want something to give you a bit of food for thought about some aspects of our industry that are maybe a little bit more controversial, I'd highly recommend Russ Main's blog. You can find all of those links below too. If you like more of a journal or a magazine format, you could try Humanising Language Teaching magazine from Pilgrims, or the IH Journal. That's always a practical read, and they're both completely free. You can look at the back issues too. Maybe you don't want to read. Maybe video material is more your cup of tea. It's certainly mine. YouTube is full of really useful channels for teachers. Please do go and subscribe to mine at elttraining.com. I make a new video every week, and I think they're kind of helpful. I hope they are. Other people that I follow that I enjoy, Charlie's Lessons is great. The Language House TEFL is also very useful. And if you're interested in pronunciation, then try Hadar Shamesh. She's great. Another useful place to look is teachers' associations. Some of them are better than others, some of them are more active than others, but a couple of good examples are IATEFL, the International Association of Teachers of English as a Foreign Language, and BELTA, the Belgium English Language Teachers Association. These both have regular webinars and you can attend for free, although you can usually only see the recordings if you're a member. You want some more? Other organisations that run regular webinars are the publishing houses. So try the Cambridge English site or Macmillan. Of course, they're all trying to sell books and promote their profiles, but that doesn't mean that the material and the development sessions they put out there for free aren't worth it. I'd highly recommend them, and they're often by their own internal authors. Let's move on a bit further. So development is certainly not just all about input. Interacting with other teachers who are motivated and proactive is always inspiring, and it'll help to keep you trying to do things in your class, trying new things out in your class, and it'll actually help prevent burnout. In an ideal world, this would be face-to-face with your colleagues in the staff room, but not all schools are so supportive. But the internet means that you still have access to inspiring educators, even if your colleagues are not quite so interested. This kind of development really helps to keep you interested over the years, so there's a good point to it. Where are you going to find all those other inspiring teachers, you might be thinking? Well, any of the social media platforms have groups like this, so that's a great way of connecting with like-minded people. You could try searching Facebook groups with similar interests to yours, or LinkedIn. It's also a great place for professional groups. You'll find that some groups are more active than others and more, akin to your interests. So you might have to try a few before you find one that's active and has content that you enjoy. If you can't find one that you like and you've got a few friends who've got similar interests, then why not start your own group? It's very easy and it's free. Finally, if you like the idea of learning a particular aspect of English language teaching, if you want to follow a more structured course and end up with a certificate that you can show to an employer, but you don't want to or you can't afford CELTA or another course yet, then there are lots of useful courses that you can do online. Make sure that the organisation you go with is reputable. International House, for example, offer a lot of further development courses and they have a great reputation. If you like my style and you've enjoyed this talk, then you might want to go and have a look at my site. I've got a wide range of free material on there, but also certified courses in a range of aspects of English language teaching. If you need help learning about grammar, then there's my signature Grammar for Language Teachers course, which will give you confidence to explain to your learners the nuts and bolts of the language. If you already know this, but you're not sure how to teach it in an engaging way, then Teaching Grammar Communicatively is for you. If you're planning on doing CELTA but you want to prepare for it beforehand, then I've got a package of courses that will give you the best possible chance of excelling on CELTA. There's a lot to take on in a CELTA course in a short period of time. So if you can hit the ground running, already being prepared and knowing some things, you're much more likely to achieve a higher grade and do well. If you want some ideas for new activities, then try my Dictogloss course, or this course which is designed to help you to exploit the text that you use in class for Lexis. And finally, my newest course is called AI Powered Language Teaching, and it's got fantastic ideas for using ChatGPT or Bard to produce lessons at any level on any topic that are a bit more interesting than just text, questions, discussion. So my feeling is that if you can learn to harness that power of AI, you can get it to do the donkey work of planning for you so that you can plan much more interesting, creative, personalised lessons for your learners without it taking all of your free time. So that's about it. I've covered a huge amount of ground here, and you can't possibly do all of this, certainly not at the same time. But don't get overwhelmed. Choose one of these things that you think might be useful to you and start doing it on a regular basis. Make it manageable for yourself. You could set yourself a target of listening to one webinar every month or reading one newsletter a week, for example. Or if you're thinking about more formal courses, then make a plan for what you want to do, when you're going to do that, and how you're going to prepare for it. In my opinion, English teaching is a fantastic job. It's kept me really happy and interested for over 30 years. But the reason that it's been such a creative and stimulating experience for me is because I've always kept learning something new. So I really hope that there's something in this little talk which will inspire you to keep doing the same, and hopefully give you the same kind of joy that I've had out of my working career so far, and which I continue to have. Thank you for watching, even though you're just listening to me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.